In the headlines, aviation unions reopen section of Lagos Airport Road says protest continues. Police confirm kidnap of traffic officer in Ogun. Adamawa PDP protesters demand announcement of governorship poll results. And on the international scene, Qatar Airways suspends flight to Sudan. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for joining. The news in detail. The strike unions in the aviation industry who have blocked all access roads to the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, have finally reopened the section of the road to allow vehicular movement. Motorists have been trapped at Airport Road since morning when members of the unions blocked the access roads. Many passengers who had flights to catch were seen trekking to the airport with their luggage. The protests are over non-implementation of their condition of service and the planned demolition of office complexes of aviation agencies has paralyzed activities in Lagos as the gridlock which built up from the airport stretches to other parts of Ikeja metropolis. The ever-busy Ikeja on the bridge access was shut to traffic as many vehicles were stuck in one place for hours. Those who managed to get to Ikeja on the bridge GRA Annex had to turn back. As of the time of filing this report, the unions have reopened a section of the road to allow vehicular movement along the airport road. And General Secretary of the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Comrade Francis Akinjole, said the unions will continue the protest but open a section of the road in sympathy with the stranded motorist. Trust TV Victoria Tonkolo was there and now gives us an update. We apologize for that poor audio quality there. But moving on, the Independent National Electoral Commission has vowed to punish officials of the commission who boycotted official protocol to announce the result of the Adamawa rerun poll. The INEC National Commissioner on Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, disclosed this while speaking to journalists in Birnin Kebbi. He said the perpetrators will be brought to book. He assured that there will be no other supplementary poll after supplementary elections in Adamawa State.
So he had no right whatsoever to go and make a declaration and also make a return when there have been results that have been warehoused and there have also been supplementary results that were ongoing. A national commissioner cannot be treated as if he or she is a common criminal. A former vice chancellor of Usman Danfodio University, a senior citizen, was stripped naked and dragged. This commission will not allow that to stand.
And now, supporters of the People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State have taken to the streets of Yola, the state capital, in protest to demand that the result of last Saturday's governorship supplementary election be announced. The protesters, made up of men, women and youths, on Monday first stopped at the office of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Yola, where they urged the commission to respect the mandate of the people. They decried what they described as a lack of transparency in the election in Adamawa State, which according to them should have been concluded with the first poll held on March 18. The protesters said the supplementary election held was a charade, which should be condemned by all, adding that from results collated so far, it is obvious that Governor Umaru Fintiri won the election. INEC had on Sunday suspended collation of the supplementary poll after the resident electoral commission in the state strangely declared the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate Aishatu Ahmed the winner, while collation of results was ongoing. The Ogun State Police Command has confirmed the kidnap of an officer of the Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps, Akbokola Olashukbo, who was reportedly kidnapped on Sunday. The police public relations officer Bimbola Oyemi confirmed the incident during a telephone conversation, saying that all hands on deck to get him rescued. It was gathered that the traffic officer was kidnapped around 6:30 a.m. around the Eledumare Fidiwo axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway while on the way to his duty post. The kidnappers are said to have emerged from the bush and opened fire on a commercial bus with an intention to kidnap. The police spokesman, however, assured that the victim would be rescued as he sent notes of warning to criminals to stay off the state. Still on security, Vigilante Group of Nigeria has sought support of residents of various communities across the country in efforts to tackle insecurity in their respective areas. The VGN Commander General Dr. Usman Jahu said support and involvement of residents of communities would place security operators in positions of advantage to combat criminality. He spoke in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, during screening exercise of the Vigilante Group officers across the southwest states. The Vigilante Group Commander General said the organization was aware that some people were hiring gunmen from outside the country to build criminal businesses. He, however, said the missing link in security planning in the country would be addressed as soon as President Muhammadu Buhari signs the Vigilante Group bill into law, which would empower operators to provide security at community level and in the forest. And residents of Abidogun community in Omi-Adio, Ibadan, have appealed to Oyo State government to rescue them from the activities of land grabbers, which had begun to threaten the peaceful coexistence in the community. The Ijesha president in Abidogun community made the appeal during a peaceful protest in the community. The report.
The residents accused Wanyekini Lasisi of leading the land grabber syndicate currently threatening the peace of the community. Speaking with journalists during the protest, an elderly man, Bamidele Ademorati, explained that he was born and bred in the community, noting that The land currently being encroached upon by land grabbers had been rightly occupied by his forefathers for decades. He argued that over the years, a tenant who had claimed ownership of some portions of the land had been taken to court, with 2 court judgments obtained in favor of the Ijesha people.
We were invited, we were called, and that is why we were here, just to let people know that both left and right belong to Ijesha community. If you observe this environment, this front, our father told us that the Oyo people said Ijesha people are honor. If war should come to this village by that time, he will first of all attack Ijesha before attacking the Ibadans. So the Ibadan people settle at the inner there, while Ijesha people settle at the entrance. Now that Ijesha settle at the entrance, and the entrance has become a Buddhist place now, he's now arose and said he wanted to start selling all those land, which we believe is ambiguous, is spoiling, is not a welcome development. And we are not a troublemaker.
Another resident, Isaac Obembe, said, as law-abiding people, the Ijesha residents had consulted with necessary stakeholders and have equally cautioned their children not to resort to violence with the land grabbers while urgently expecting the law to take its course. Most Ijesha youth in the community who carried placards bearing various inscriptions also pledged not to engage the land grabbers in any form of violence, but would rather be law-abiding in pursuing the cause of justice.
You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at where Sultan Attahiro made his last stand. Details of this report and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Good morning, Nigeria. Year after year, they have informed, educated, and entertained us. When you needed information, knowledge, or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
This November, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards, an award ceremony set to reward hard work and unflinching excellence in the broadcast media. They have served and are still serving. It's time to say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON. For more details, log on to www.tnbawards.ng and follow our social media handles at TNB Awards.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the news update on Trust TV. A reminder of our top stories. We told you that Aviation Union's reopened section of Lagos Airport Road says protests continues. And the police confirmed kidnap of traffic officer in Ogun. Moving on to more stories, the Kwara State government, in conjunction with the federal government, had initiated the process of moving about 100,000 young tech entrepreneurs from the informal sector to the formal sector. This, according to the government, is to expose the tech entrepreneurs to more benefits that can improve their trade and create jobs for more thousands of youths in the state. The report.
To achieve the goal of improving the activities of the informal sector to enhance their economic base, especially the youth, the Kwara State Government and the Federal Government, through the National Start-up Act Secretariat, has organized a stakeholders forum on adoption and domestication of NSA in Ilori, the state capital. They maintain that the new law on digital economy is where prosperity lies for the country and subnationals. According to the organizers of the event, the law, when fully operational, will benefit young startups and tech-savvy youth population that makes up over 60% of the country's demography.
This is an engagement event helping Kwara State to adopt the Nigerian Startup Act. Last year, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, signed the Nigerian Startup Act into law. The Nigerian Startup Act is a joint initiative, a co-created legislation between the presidency and the private sector to create an enabling environment for tech-enabled companies to thrive.
Explaining the benefits when the law comes fully on stream, the managing director of the newly established Ilori Innovation Hub, Timi Kolawole, said not less than 100,000 young tech-enabled entrepreneurs will be captured in the program, with a multiplier impact on over 500,000 if at least each of them employs only 5 people.
I think we're going to see much changes in the next 6 months to 1 year. What we're doing is really for the future. I mean, if it's going to take us about 6 months to implement the act, I think we should start seeing results by the first and second year of implementation. So we know that we have talent. We're just really trying to guide them and give them all the tools that they need to get to where we want them.
While the state government expressed its readiness and determination to key into the program, one of the participants explained the benefit therein for young entrepreneurs.
The state has actually moved an edge from where we are in terms of the activities that the state government has been investing in. One that has to do with the Innovation Hub. I know this council for innovation is meant to be broadened. It's one of the mandates of the ease of doing business at present. But because the ease of doing business have a lot of mandates governing them, and they also have a lot of assignments that they have to carry out. So there can be an offshoot of representation from the Ease of Doing Business Council, which will now be like a technical working committee in the realization of this act.
For me, is the way forward. If you don't invest, you cannot make money. Technology is an enabler. So the bill will help, the act, the Startup Act, Nigeria Startup Act will help government to actually create an environment for young people running business to thrive, leveraging on technology.
The government says it will not be starting domestication from the scratch, because there are already structures in place, as many of the targeted people are already doing things that they know how to do, especially by selling things online.
It's 120 years since the killing of the 12th Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Tahiru, by the British colonial forces in 1903 at Bomi village. Sultan Tahiru, who resisted the British colonial government, was on a journey to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia when the colonial troops fought him at Bomi. Over a centenary after the war, Bomi is now a ghost town, harboring only the tomb of Sultan Tahiru, the chief imam of Sokoto, and a British commander, Major Francis Charles Marsh. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail, who was at Bomi, examines the historical significance of the battlefield. Take a look.
Located in Funakai local government area of Gombe State, Bormi is over 76 kilometers away from the capital, Gombe. Bormi, which was founded by warrior Modibo Jibril Lagaini, was renowned for resistance against the British colonial forces. It had defensive trenches and walls which strengthened its army against their enemies in the 20th century. According to historians, the war between Tahiru and the British ensued when the Sultan revoked an agreement entered into by his predecessor, which granted the British Royal Niger Company rights to conduct business within and around the Sokoto Caliphate.
Some said that, okay, the Caliph should stay behind and scum or submit himself to the British forces, while the Caliph on his part decided that he will just embark on Hijrah in tandem with the opinion or the what his grandparents predicted, particularly Usman bin Fodio. So he decided to embark on Hijrah. He preferred to embark on Hijrah actually than to scum or submit to British forces. So he embarked on this Hijrah, and it took him about a month to even reach Bormi.
Sultan Tahiru, the Caliphate chief imam, and the British commander, Major Francis Charles Marsh, were buried in the battlefield of Bormi.
All your ears could hear here at Bormi is sound of birth. It is here that in 1903 the British fought late Sultan Tahiru Muhammad of the Sokoto Caliphate, where he was killed, and over 600 of his supporters were also killed during a fight that shows the stance of the Sokoto Caliphate against the British colonial masters.
After the war, the British forces banned locals from erecting structures or settlements in Bormi village. It was turned into farmlands for people of neighboring villages like Garing Abba and Bulagaidam. Bulagaidam village is the biggest village, barely a kilometer from Bormi. It was established after the Battle of Atahiru and the British in 1903. Abdullahi Ali is 85 years old. He was raised in Bulagaidam and was told the history of Bormi by his ancestors. The British forces warned Gombe Emirates not to allow anyone erect structures in Bormi. They also warned traditional rulers in Ashaka and Bulagaidam to enforce the order because they are closer to the place. They should not allow even Fulani herders to erect temporary huts.
Bulagaidam, kuna kusa da wurin, kada ku bari ai ko buka a cikin Bormi.
After some years, an unknown person built a hut at Bormi. He wrote a letter claiming he is the Mahdi. The letter was handed over to me. I declined to read because of the content. The traditional ruler of Ashaka ordered the village head of Bulagaidam to burn the hut, and he did.
Sai ɗauka ya kawo mini a ni ya kawo ma da na duba nace wani wasiƙan ya fi ƙarfi na ba zan iya karanta ba tunda mutumin shi yace shi wai shi mahadi ne
kabalan yara ƙananan nan ko ba wanda ya san wani abu cikin Bormi.
The youth don't know anything about the history of Bormi. The village is now our farmlands, and all of us cultivate annually.
The battle that took place at least less than 12 hours, but it led to the demise of about 20,000 people. So the situation, the town is deserted, but you have the tomb maybe neglected somehow, because if you look at various explanations or sources or researches carried out on that particular place, it shows that even though it has been proposed as one of the world Islamic sites alongside other places in Nigeria, nothing tangible is yet to be done.
It was gathered that descendants of late Sultan Tahiru and that of British commander Major Francis Charles visited the tombs at the same time decades ago. However, the two bereaved families did not exchange pleasantries, which was interpreted by scholars to mean that both sides are still at loggerheads over a battle that took place 120 years ago.
The traditional institutions that had tremendous powers, absolute powers, have been reduced to mere robustum, and this impact is a recurring thing now.
Although Sultan Tahiru was defeated by the British, but he will always be remembered for his strong stance for an independent caliphate and his defiance against the British colonial masters in the 20th century. From Bormi battleground, Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News.
A fascinating piece there from Ibrahim Ismail in Bormi. But moving on away from Nigeria, following the shutdown of Khartoum International Airport, Qatar Airways announced the suspension of its operation to Sudan. Fighting broke out between paramilitary rapid support forces under the command of General Mohammed Hamdan and the Council's deputy chairman and army units loyal to General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, leader of Sudan's transitional governing sovereign council. The sound of heavy firing could be heard as the military urged people to remain inside their homes. Schools, banks and government offices would be closed. Burhan overthrew long-term ruler Omar al-Bashir in April 2019. 18 months later, the military and the RSF staged a second coup, pending a transition to democracy. The UN's World Food Programme suspended operations in the country after 3 of its employees were killed in clashes in the fall. Fighting was also reported in eastern border state of Kassala. The U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to talks to put Sudan back to track to a civilian-led government. And now in sports, the Los Angeles Lakers upset second seed the Memphis Grizzlies with a 128-112 win in the Western Conference playoff first-round opener. Rui Hachimura scored 29 points off the bench for the visiting Lakers, who are seeded 7th. Teammate Austin Reeves hit 23 points, while Lakers stars Anthony Davis and LeBron James combined for 43 points. Grizzlies guard J.A. Morant left the game with just under 6 minutes left in the final quarter with a hand injury, but the Lakers responded with a 15-0 run to finish the game and assume home court advantage in the best-of-7 series. Hachimura made 11 of his 14 shots, including 5 of 6 from three-point range to spark the Lakers, who reached the playoffs after winning a play-in game against the Minnesota. Game 2 of the series is also in Memphis on Wednesday. With that, we wrap up the news update at this hour. But for more, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across all our social media platforms.